Anita, there we go.
Hello, hi, how are you?
Anita, all the way from Mastercard. A very big welcome to you. We've
Thank you
known each
so
other
much.
a long time, and I just want to say we're very grateful what Mastercard does for small business, not only in South Africa but around the world. And your topic is hugely important today. Some insightful questions, and all about helping our SMEs. Not only during these times, but bring on new learnings in the way forward. So Anita, again, thank you for joining us. Your time is precious, and I know our SMEs out there are looking forward to engaging or listening to this, and I know we have thousands on YouTube live at the moment streaming. So Anita, a big welcome to you.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. I'm looking forward to our discussion, and happy Spring Day.
Well, you know what? You're the first person who said that today. Well, happy spring to you, Anita. I'm sitting I'm down from Gauteng or Northwest. I'm in Globe, Big Bay at the moment.
Oh,
And it's spring at the moment, but I mean, I know it gets there. It takes a little bit longer than it does in Gauteng and Northwest. But Anita, I've got some discussions, points here that I'd like to bring forward that is quite relevant during these times. But I know we don't always want to just talk about the pandemic, but we will bring that in because there is still a recovery time ahead of us, and SMEs do need some tips and insights and strategies of how they can perform better in this environment and prepare for the beyond. So Anita, if I can ask you, how has the pandemic impacted small businesses and the challenges exposed?
If I think about small businesses and how important they are, not only to Mastercard, but to the economy. More than 90% of businesses in South Africa are small businesses. They contribute roughly 60% to the jobs across all sectors and contribute roughly 40% to GDP. So they are important to us, but we've really seen some serious challenges that have impacted small businesses, during the last 500 odd days, and particularly I think the lengthy lockdown in South Africa, and the slowdown, in the economy has really impacted them, significantly. And throughout our conversation, I'll be sharing a couple of statistics, and, I've been doing a little bit of research around it, but some interesting statistics have really come forward in that 43% of South African small businesses actually had to close their door due to the pandemic, and analysts are predicting that, around 60% of SMEs might close their businesses indefinitely. 60% of permanent jobs were lost simply because SMEs, like I said, employ, a big part of our workforce. And then 70% of SMEs have reduced their spending because they were closed for long periods of time. They had to lay off employees, work fewer hours. But then there's also been a shift in consumer behavior. This rise in online shopping has skyrocketed, with South Africans having increased the way that they make online payments, and we see that reduction in cash and checks more than any other payment method.
Trying and different, and really adaptation is the key word. Now, Anita, COVID-19 has certainly accelerated digital, with more people changing shopping and buying behaviors. What are some of the changes you have seen since the onset?
Look, I think all of us have really had to adapt, the way that we live, the way we work, the way that we shop. If you think about how you were shopping before, it's very different. Now you think twice about where you need to go and how quickly you could get there and make your way back in order to feel safe again. But if I can refer to a recent global study, where 5,500 major Mastercard merchants said that between Q1 last year, 2020, and Q1 2021, more than a fifth of those merchants globally had to increase the number of ways that they connect with their customers. But there are two sort of trends that we've seen. The one is really this rise in contactless payments in store. So when you do venture out, the way that you pay for your goods and services are different. People are not really comfortable touching, point of sale devices. And then there's this rise in online shopping that has come through. So as COVID-19 has raised health concerns and we try to stay at home more often, what are people shopping for? The sort of big three things are around data, and mobile top-ups. There's obviously the clothing, and then shopping for their day-to-day, supplies, your groceries. But then we look beyond the physical things, and it's also around how, virtual experiences have now moved online, where customers are now doing their entertainment online, watching movies and TV shows, via an online entertainment subscription. And then there's also 60% of South African consumers that are now actually using the pandemic as a positive learning experience, learning ways to cook, or learning how to do your banking online, or even not just about shopping, but other virtual experience. So it's been very interesting, and we're keeping a close eye on these trends. But most of our surveys have said that 71% of these respondents will actually continuing to shop online post the pandemic, because it's changed the way that we live.
Absolutely, and I mean, I know that Mastercard is the experts on of course research and predictions and trends. So those insights are incredibly important because we have to understand them. Now, Anita, looking at payments, what are some of the new emerging payment methods you are seeing, and what is the take out for SMEs?
If I can reference another study, Mike, the Mastercard New Payment Index, which surveyed 1,000 SA consumers, we saw a strong desire from South Africans to actually support small businesses, especially those that offered a variety of digital payments and e-commerce facilities. 66% have said that they've tried a new payment and that they would not have tried under normal circumstances. So that would be things like, scanning a QR code, or using a digital or mobile wallet, or even using biometrics. 75% say that they are more loyal to retailers who actually offer multiple payment options. If I think about myself personally, for me, it's wonderful not to be able to, dig into my handbag and search for my wallet or my card if I can use a mobile payment. It's just so much easier. But what I would say, to SMEs, as much as you've had a difficult time, over the past year, and many people had to close their doors, this is also an opportunity for you to pivot your operation into this digital sphere and start looking at these new payment methods that are available. And as COVID-19 is driving this new shift in consumer behavior, it's important to try and adjust to stay afloat, on these options that are available to them.
Yes, and from Anita, from traditional face-to-face, it must be quite daunting having to set up an e-commerce store. What are the actual challenges facing SMEs going the digital way?
Look, I think I've said it a couple of times now, that SMEs have been hardest hit. And it's not just because, they are smaller, but it's also that they don't really have, the big sort of teams to support them to think about, how do I quickly change my operations? So many businesses had to really try and figure out, how do I actually quickly change the way that I operate and start looking at these digital options. And there still remains a gap, between those who actually can, access these opportunities, and those who just really don't know how to figure it out. So many of our SMEs had to learn about e-commerce, while others were trying to figure out, how do I now reach my customers, through these new digital platforms. And I think the biggest barrier for small businesses wanting to trade online is that cost, associated in setting up an online trading platform, and the complexity of doing it. So if I answer your question, and I think about the cost of design, you have to think about security, financially, what are the compliance aspects related to, to actually moving my business online. But how do I also attract my consumers in a different way and create this new awareness around, my product or my service using digital marketing channels? And I think that getting SMEs online does require very specific tools and knowledge that many owners just don't have. So I think your statement is right. It is quite daunting, because at the same time, SMEs have to think about new ways to get paid. How do I protect my business from a cybersecurity perspective, and how do I reach my customers?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Anita. And your advice for e-commerce businesses over the next few months and beyond?
I think while consumers, are looking for similar things, from an online shopping experience, there are certain attitudes that have really changed over the last year. If I think about delivery as an example, before the pandemic, we'd become quite, complacent, and we were quite happy with the delivery times that were offered to us when we tried to, order something online. And that has now changed. If you think about, the new apps that are out there, like Checkers 60 app, or even Bottles, same day delivery or those curbside pickups have created this whole concept of, instant gratification. Consumers are price sensitive, they want faster delivery, and now they have access to actually looking, for a better price and a better service at the touch of a button, literally, and 75% of your typical in-store bargain hunters will spend hours searching for the right price. So the advice that I really would give SMEs is, think about how you can differentiate. What is that very specific value proposition that you can deliver from a product point of view? And can this be adapted to your particular customer expectations? And be open to new opportunities and to new ways of doing things. I was actually listening to something, one of a well-known comedian the other day, who said that, when the pandemic hit, they were faced with, very real challenges, and, they're running a business, not being able to, stand up, in comedy clubs, but using online channels to actually now still interact with their audiences, has actually changed their business completely. So I'd say be open and look at the opportunities that are available to you, as an SME.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, Anita. And I think the big calling now amongst the SME sector, not necessarily around the real world, is that the call to really future-proof one's business. How can going digital help an SME rebuild and future-proof their businesses?
I think going digital is driven by multiple factors. It's that increased competition that that we all have to be faced with now. I spoke about this higher customer expectation, and also deeper financial pressures, because let's be honest, SMEs have really experienced a lot of financial difficulties over the last year. But to future-proof your small business, I think to act swiftly and to reimagine your customer engagement and your whole entire brand experience. So, data shows that SMEs that are not able to transact in a digital way were actually hit the hardest, and were closed for a longer periods you know, and the chances of long-term survival were much less than your larger sort of companies. But for those who have adopted new ways, you know, there was a major payoff. You know, SMEs have reported that they've seen a jump in sales, in leads, and even multiple employer and increased employment numbers. And there's another study that I've read that actually said small businesses who digitize and invest in new payment technologies have the potential to increase their revenue by an average of 40%.
Okay. And coming to the risk factor, Anita, we do know that the accelerated digital era poses many risks, can pose many risks for SMEs. And how can SMEs protect their businesses in this new era?
I think organizations of all sizes have to deal with this particular issue. But I think in particular, smaller businesses have really become prime targets for some of these cyber attacks. You know, in the month of March, we saw that there were nearly 3,600 fake COVID-19 websites that were created. You know, we saw a 600% increase in email scams, you know, 127% increase in exposed endpoints, and 80% of companies have actually seen a rise in cyber attacks. Now, for SMEs, I think there are 4 critical cyber issues that they need to be aware of. Those are authentication and passwords, software updates, phishing, and USB and removable media. So my advice would really be to, you know, do your research, you know, look into cybersecurity toolkits that can really provide you, you know, training and guidance in terms of, you know, how to recognize, you know, these kind of attacks to protect your business and even yourself. You know, as within the industry, I think there are many big players who actually put a lot of time and money into helping SMEs, you know, combat cyber attacks, and even do, you know, free online readiness programs that SMEs can access today. And it's really around, you know, what do I need to be aware of, and how can I actually protect my business from these cyber attacks?
Okay. And Anita, digitizing collections-related processes can yield big operational gain. A few delayed or late payments from customers can lead quickly to cash constraints that hold a business back. How can digitization collections boost business health?
You know, I think every step of the collection process is important. You know, and I think a lot of SMEs are still possibly running their businesses on, you know, paper-based solutions. But, you know, looking into bringing some of these processes online could really yield some great benefits. You know, if I think about something simple like, you know, invoicing via email. You know, there are tools available where SMEs can quickly, you know, as soon as the product has been sold or the service has been delivered, that an email is generated, you know, and the sooner that the customer has that invoice, the sooner you can receive your payment, and that's good for cash flow. You know, automating your billing process. You know, some of the most efficient businesses, you know, also use tools or generate bills, you know, without any manual intervention, you know, and this approach can get the bills into the hand of the customer quickly, and then actually reduces any errors or, you know, slow payment time. Another one is actually accepting payments online. You know, while when payments are made, customers pay more quickly. I think nearly 48% of the most efficient businesses in a Mastercard survey accept customer payments through their website compared to, you know, a third of their peers. And this may seem, you know, like it would be obvious for a product-based type of solution, but you can do that when you render a service as well. Payment portal software, as an example, provides a secure area within your website where customers can quickly view the bill and then make the payment.
Okay. Anita, you mentioned cash flow. I know you touched on this briefly, but do you have any more tips a business can bring in to improve cash flow?
They say that, cash is king. But the golden rule for cash flow is to keep your own funds for as long as possible, and use some strategic habits that can help you conserve your cash, and make sure that you have available for when your business needs it. And I think there are 4 things that really come to mind. I think the first is create a plan and revisit it often. When everybody, when they start off their business, they spend a lot of time and effort creating a business plan. Revisit that plan, and make sure that you stick to it and that you make the time to actually make sure that you're on track with your plan. Time your payments strategically. If you pay your bills electronically, it gives you greater control over when funds leave your bank account, so that you will have funds when you actually need to make other payments. Engage your vendors, educate them. If they currently prefer cash, explain to them the benefits of accepting cards or even electronic payments. And some of those selling points include safer and more seamless payments, but it's also around the simplification of their receivables process, and then they won't need to deposit cash, and it's that whole ease of reconciliation. And the last one is really around, rethink early payments. A lot of vendors or suppliers will offer you an early settlement discount, but really try and weigh out this benefit, of saving 20 Rand against 1,000 Rand account, whereas you could possibly use that funds, to pay your employees or other vendors, more efficiently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Anita, I mean, during normal times, during economic booms and downturns, a major pain point is access to credit. And I know there's a major educational drive now we're doing to really help SMEs to become educated on what they need to do. But from your point of view, what are some of the key challenges?
Getting access to working capital, is, I think, one of the most pressing needs that our SMEs are facing. In South Africa last year, the government acted swiftly, in response to the pandemic, and they launched this SME loan scheme. And according to McKinsey, the 200 billion Rand loan guarantee scheme that was launched in partnership with some of the commercial banks in South Africa has had a very minimal take-up. So 5 months after the scheme went live, only 8% of the available funds that had been approved for disbursement, were actually taken up. So if I look on the demand side, SMEs may be reluctant to take on new debt, or further leverage their business in this time, because they're uncertain of whether they'll be able to repay the funds, in the current economic climate, which is understandable. And on the supply side, factors limiting the uptake of this COVID-19 loan guarantee, includes things like, banks' lack of distribution agility to reach SMEs at scale, and a very slow bank lending process in terms of assessing SMEs, and having that finding out if they have that credit appetite. Over a third of our SMEs believe that their current cash on hand can only last them a month or maybe even less. And so we know that helping SMEs to get access to working capital is really important. Another challenge that we've seen is really the credit scoring models that are employed, by banks, but place a heavy burden on SMEs. So, and this limits their access to finance. the traditional sort of risk criteria such as evidence of tax status and access to financial statements are typically required. But, some of our micro SMEs don't even have access to that kind of documentation. So at Mastercard, what we are doing really differently in this space, is helping our micro and small to medium businesses with financing options, through our Mastercard Track microcredit program. And in Kenya, in partnership with Unilever, we actually enabled over 20,000 shop owners in Kenya to build up credentials and access short-term working capital through a local bank, and as well as to access training to grow their sales, and their income. But we had to think differently about, how we actually work through this kind of solution. And, and this is something where we see, a lot of fintechs and other players are coming into the market, because there is definitely a gap in terms of credit to smaller businesses.
Absolutely. And I think expanding more on access to finance and, of course, credit. From your point of view, how can SMEs utilize their credit more effectively? And I think there needs to be a lot of education around this.
Absolutely. I think using credit efficiently can definitely have a positive impact on your cash flow. I think I said it already, cash is definitely king. But also we know that a lot of small businesses fail, due to cash flow problems. So I think, unfortunately, so slow customer payments, so that what we spoke about earlier, not invoicing or billing customers effectively, puts a strain on businesses, and that can be, it can have a negative effect on actually paying your employees or even your suppliers. But, there are a couple of tips I think that you could think about. For example, using a credit card to pay for your expenses as one example, lets you take advantage of that float period between making a purchase and paying for it. And essentially it gives you almost 30 days, depending on when your statement cuts off and the payment due date. And depending on the card benefits that you have, paying your bills with the card can actually help you to accumulate points that you could, sort of pour back into your business. Using a card can also help you to pay your bills and schedule or automate your bills, reducing the amount of time it takes to actually manage your finances. So those are the things that I would really advise customers on. But automating payments keeps you current with your vendors and your creditors, and and that can keep you from being charged late fees. So.
Absolutely. And just my final question to you, Anita, is that I always ask this question to everybody. How is Mastercard supporting SMEs during the pandemic?
Thank you. I think we've had extensive experience in financial inclusion, and we have made a commitment to connect 1 billion people and 50 million small businesses to the worldwide digital economy by 2025. So with this customer-centric approach, we've pledged $250 million across the globe in financial technology product and services to support SMEs over the next 5 years. And there are a couple of things that we've done, differently. In South Africa, we actually, thanks to the introduction, in South Africa, we managed to support small businesses and help them to quickly pivot online. We teamed up with Standard Bank and Google to launch an initiative that will actually enable small businesses to open an online store, get paid quickly, and attract, customers. Through this collaboration, SMEs can access Standard Bank Simply Blue. It's an all-in-one e-commerce solution powered by Mastercard's payment gateway, plus get free Google ads to the value of 500 Rand. And this offer is available until the end of the year. And then we've also sort of locked arms with trusted digital partners and banks to empower SMEs more. Recently, we teamed up with PayFast to inspire and incentivize South Africans to support local businesses. And so until the end of September 2021, consumers who check out with a Mastercard or a Masterpass or a Masterpass-enabled banking app at any PayFast merchant will stand a chance to win one of 900,000 weekly shopping sprees to spend at any PayFast merchants. And then PayFast merchants that promote this campaign also stand a chance to win some prizes. We are also helping to provide training to entrepreneurs to start and grow their business. In South Africa as well, we have empowered 3,000 women entrepreneurs aged between the age of 18 and 35 to gain entrepreneurial skills, start their own ventures, and create new jobs through a decade-long partnership that we've had with Junior Achievement South Africa. And then the last thing is, just leveraging our expansive network and multi-rail capabilities to deliver secure digital experiences and new opportunities for SMEs. In June 2020, Nedbank became the first bank in Africa to unveil its new tap-on-phone functionality that allows all merchants and business owners in South Africa to convert their mobile phones into payment acceptance devices. So we've been very busy.
Well, Anita, I know. I mean, you over the year, I think I can add to that. You're a big supporter of SME South Africa. You're a proud partner of the NSBC. Without organizations like yours, we can't do what we do. And so we're truly grateful for what you do. You commit yourself, you make it happen, and you truly go out there and support this all-important sector. And your stats 100%. Small business is the mainstay of our economy. It's the future of job creation. And without the sector, there isn't a thriving economy. So well done to you and your team of what you do. And I know you're a major global player, but you're a massive driver of the success of SMEs around the world, and of course, importantly, in South Africa. So thank you for that, and we're truly grateful for you being part of us this afternoon. The insights, amazing and valuable, and we don't often get to hear the intellect behind the research and the trends and what's coming up. So Anita, thank you for your time, and we look forward to engaging again shortly in the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mike. All the best.
You too. Bye-bye.